live once. You cannot be focused on what everything looks like on paper.
When you made that decision to leave Gilt Groupe to go create a new company, what was the thinking process behind it?
I had been at Gilt for 7 years. I'd never been at any company for that long. I was so emotionally attached to Gilt and my teammates and the company and the experience there, and got to understand what GLAMSQUAD was all about. In-home hair services that you could book through an app, high quality, relatively affordable, $50 blowouts, and I got very excited about the concept.
How did you build the GLAMSQUAD brand in the beginning, and what are some of the things that other entrepreneurs watching this can take with them as they build their own brands?
Creating a brand in a very short period of time is critical. It's not optional. You have to do it. What does our brand stand for? Who are our clients? What are we and what are we not? What is your company culture? And what are elements that you want to keep forever? So for example, our vision is to be our client's beauty obsession. We have been very clear that we want to service time-starved women. We have democratized a service that really is a luxury service that years ago was reserved for truly the rich and famous, and we are making this experience accessible.
How do you maintain the quality control? One bad experience from a customer standpoint means they're no longer a customer of GLAMSQUAD.
We take 8% of the hairstylists who apply, and makeup artists, it's even smaller, 6%.
Of all the things that you learned, the lessons that you learned at Gilt Groupe, what's the one that you've taken with you and applied the most to GLAMSQUAD?
I think it's very normal for entrepreneurial people to want to be constantly launching and innovating. Clients will say, well, what about brows? What about spray tanning? What about facials? You name it. They want all things in terms of beauty services done by GLAMSQUAD, and we are trying to stay laser focused on our core business. So we have specifically chosen to stay for now in 3 cities, New York, LA, Miami, and chosen to focus on 3 core services: hair, makeup, and nails.
How did you find the people that you really trust, that you can rely on for advice?
Oddly, the more established I'm getting in my career, the more mentors I have. Earlier in my career, I mistakenly had the thought that my mentors should all be women, and they should all be women that I want to become in the future. I started out right out of college in investment banking, and there weren't that many women at the top, but the few that were there I looked up to and would sort of say, okay, I want to be like her. She's successful, she has a family, she seems happy, I want to be like her. That didn't mean that woman was going to be my mentor and going to be the one looking out for me. So it's very different, I think, to have role models versus mentors, and I think they're both valuable. You don't necessarily need to know your role models, but you should identify who they are. They might be people you admire from afar.
And your mentors are people who really have to be there for you, to be sounding boards that you can really trust.
For me, I've had a lot of different mentors that I've gone to at different stages in my career. So Mindy Grossman, for example, she's the CEO of HSN. She's an incredible mentor. She's also a role model to me. There are various moments in my career where I have called her or emailed her or had dinner with her and said, I'm wrestling with a particular problem or have a question. Can you give me advice on this? That doesn't mean I'm calling her for all my questions and issues. For every tough moment in your career, there should be different people that you should hopefully be able to reach out to.
What's been the biggest surprise for you?
Startups they're hard. They're really hard work. I know they look really glamorous from the outside, and there's this sort of cult of entrepreneurship, but startups are really, really hard. Most startups fail. It's hard to get funding. So you have to really believe in your business, believe in your team members, 300%. You're giving it your all. It's emotional. It's exhausting. A lot of entrepreneurs have moments of burnout, but there's nothing like a startup. It's really, you experience the highest highs you could possibly imagine. It's exhilarating when things are going well. And then when you have a bad moment or a bad day, you have to have thick skin, and you have to be a go-getter, and you have to believe in what you're building.
What's the worst piece of advice you've received over the course of all of these years creating companies?
Oh, your idea is never going to work, which I heard from a number of people in the case of Gilt. When I was earlier in my career, I was really focused on my resume and how is something going to look. You live once. You cannot be focused on what everything looks like on paper.